Wizards PostGame Live.
Last game before the All-Star break, and I don't know about you, but Bradley Beal decided to turn on the motor tonight and create a comeback for the ages for Wizards fans. It ended in a dub. That's right, a 20-point comeback. Bradley Beal had 35 points, and he's not the only one putting up numbers tonight. We got a whole slew of Wizards players that contributed to the Wizards getting their 28th win on the season, now 2 games under 500. And, of course, we're heading into the All-Star break. Chrissy Winter-Scott here with Wes Hall. We'll be joined by the rest of the crew here in a moment, but, Chrissy, the floor is yours first. Your thoughts, and I'll tell you before she goes, energy was on 10 tonight watching this game. 10. Anyway, floor is yours. I'm sorry.
I said 10th gear, right?
Yeah.
The Wizards were fantastic down the stretch, just applying the grit necessary to win this game. They could have said, okay, we're down 20. Let's just fold it up. 1, 2, 3, Cancun, and let's keep it moving. No, this Wizards team had pride and character in this game to take that momentum and continue to build it. I credit DeLon Wright with his motor on the defensive end. He had 3 steals, but he was doing all the intangibles, okay? He was 5 of 9 from the floor, but he got busy. He got in the gaps. He got to the glass. He had 6 boards. So that's the X factor for me in this game. But overall, the team fought for this win collectively as a unit. And you heard Bradley Beal tell Megan McPeak, hey, listen, we said we didn't have the right energy to start this game, but there's still time to improve that. They came out and dug deep for this one. And you have to love that for the second half of the season after the All-Star break. The way they won this game on the road with guts and grit. Man, I love it. I'm still, you know.
Yeah, you still riding the high.
You
talk about a team effort, though. A team effort. Corey Kispert in the first half, he had the hot hand, knocking down 3 or 4 from deep. And here he is right now, courtside with Megan McPeak.
Corey, you had a strong game in this one, especially from shooting-wise. Just talk about what it took with that second unit. You guys got the team back into this one.
Yeah, just keeping the, just keeping the boat afloat. Like, we went down early, they punched us in the face, and just doing what we could to keep the spirit in our team. And 48 minutes is a really long time, so if we stuck with it, we knew we could claw back.
You continue to adapt your game, whether it's learning and confidently putting the ball on the floor, attacking the rim, but as well, too, the confidence in the way that you've been shooting as of late. Just talk about how you maintain that mentality.
Yeah, never too high, never too low. Shots are going to go in, shots are going to miss, and it's the reality of the game. So believing in myself and knowing that if I miss one, the next one's definitely going in.
Brad gave credit to the second unit, specifically getting those 2 comebacks in this game on the defensive end. Just talk about the mindset you guys had in this one.
Well, I mean, we wanted to end the first part of the season on a good note and go into All-Star break feeling good, but all the credit goes to Brad. He's been a great leader. He took over that game when we needed him and made some big-time shots. He's big nuts. I'm proud of him.
Corey, congrats on the win. Have a good break.
Appreciate it.
Well done, Megan. Chris and Drew, courtside in Minnesota tonight. Guys, I know we talked about the mental lapses that we hope to avoid before this break. Brad acknowledged it. Guys, what say you about the full 4 quarters that they played tonight, Drew?
I would say the mental toughness. I've been in that situation before the break, before season's end, that last game of the year. It's hard to lock in. It's just hard. You're thinking your mind is somewhere else. And if you're playing on the court, it's that much harder because you have a job to do and carry out, and that ultimate job and objective is to get a dub. And tonight, with the Wizards being down 20 points, I thought, and I looked at Chris, and I said to myself, it's going to be one of those nights that we probably won't see the starters in the 4th quarter, and there's going to be a blowout in the Timberwolves' favor. But guess what? That was not the case. It started in the 3rd quarter, not letting go of the rope, cutting the lead down around 8 to 10, couldn't get over that hump. But 4th quarter, Kyle Kuzma was 5 for 25 at one point, shot a 3 to give the Wizards a 1-point lead. And like he said, even though I'm, 6 for 21, it didn't matter. I still got it done for my team. And those shots like that come up big. And Bradley Beal was Bradley Beal down the stretch. DeLon Wright continues to make big plays. Denny Avdia picked up the scoring load in that second unit. This was a total team effort tonight. I loved it.
With 1:14 remaining in the game, Washington got their first lead, and it was that 3 by Kyle Kuzma. And then everybody's talked about Beal, right? 4th quarter, he was amazing. DeLon was terrific. Wes Unseld did a hell of a job. These coaches also, they get abused. People talk crazy about them. He did an excellent job of managing this game tonight, figuring out we still got some fight left in us. Christy, you're a coach. When Brad came back into the game, you could tell Wes Unseld said, you know what? go close the game for me. But if you look at that pattern between about the middle third quarter to when Kyle Kuzma hit that three, that's a hell of a coaching job by this coach.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, to make and to trust the moves that you're making, especially down the stretch like that, that was an amazing coaching move. It's chess, not checkers out here. You have to trust that your players have the fire in the belly. He trusted Bradley Beal in that instance to come in and change the flow and the energy of the game, and he came in and did that. And then everyone else followed suit. You love to see that kind of experience in Wes Unseld Jr. Only his second year here as a head coach, but listen, he trusts his teammates, and he trusts his teammates. I'm calling everybody a teammate, okay? Coaches and players are on the same page when it comes to that. So you have to be able to really revel in that moment, especially when you have this long break coming up for the All-Star break. But I love that Wes Unseld Jr. made the moves that he did down the stretch to allow the team to follow their leader in Bradley Beal. He's their vet. He's the one who's the three-time All-Star. He understands the assignment, and he wants that. 35 points, a season high tonight for Brad.
Shout out to Brad for that. Guys, I'm curious about something, because in the first half, you had 2 Wizard scorers in double figures. You end the night with 6 of them in double figures. 3 of them hit 4 or more threes. And my mind goes back to those back-to-back nights where we were giving up 19 and 23-point leads. Drew, was this the night where we saw the wisdom applied from the lessons that we had to learn, those tough lessons earlier in the season?
I'm going to keep bringing those 2 games up forever. Until I have this, as long as I had this job, I'm going to bring those 2 games up because it haunts me. Because we sat there and we watched it and we was like, how could this happen? Especially to a team that we know is capable of putting teams away and having games like we saw tonight in the second half. But what I like is the dub, no matter how they won it and what type of fashion they came out on top. I'm proud of these guys. This reset will be great for this team to heal the injuries and just get a mental reset and hit that mental reset button and come back refreshed and rejuvenated. I'm excited on what's in store ahead.
Guys, that's why I had the Indiana Pacers game as my favorite game, because they responded to that second half surge by the Pacers and didn't fall victim to giving up their lead. I think that changed the course of their season, and I think it helped tonight because they knew that they could dig in and find the wherewithal to get the job done, and they did that.
To that point, Chris, we mentioned the minute and 14 seconds in the fourth quarter. I don't think people can really appreciate the value of holding on to a game till that late in the fourth, the ability to believe that there's still a chance. What say you? Because obviously you guys were there in the arena. You saw it happening in real action in real time.
Again, I'm going to give this coach his flowers. When they went to that zone, what happened?
Yep.
Kyle Anderson got a couple floaters to go down, but getting into the passing lanes, deflections, using their size to their advantage on the defensive end, allow them to come back and then let Bradley Beal be a closer. Let Kyle Kuzma, with 1:14 remaining in this game, hit a 3 to put them up for the first time in the game. So again, the game within the game, the strategy I saw once they went zone, and you were talking about it too, it's allowing now you offensively to get into your bag. And multiple times Bradley Beal hunted Rudy Gobert on a matchup to get to the cup or a snatchback pull-up 3. That's when you can believe in your leader. And you heard Corey Kispert tell Megan about that, or just giving the ball to Brad and everybody just get the hell out of the way.
Drew, not only are we applauding the offensive output of this team, including big dunks from Gaff like that right there you're seeing on your screen, but this Wizards team had 13 steals on defense, Drew.
Yeah, and guess what that led to? 27 fast break points that we don't see. You know, the Wizards are not the fastest team in the league in transition because they can't and they don't get that many deflections and steals. But when they have nights where they get 13 steals and you got guys like DeLon Wright active in those passing lanes, multiple guys active in them passing lanes, easy offense is created.
Guys, I'm going to do you both a favor, and I'm going to let you steal some seconds back for your life. It's time to go on vacation, gentlemen. 1, 2, 3 Cancun or whatever. 1, 2, 3 don't call me, whatever you want to say.
1, 2, 3 man cave. I'm going 0 dark 30 for about 72 hours.
Hey, 1, 2, 3 Florida first. Let me at least get my bags. Let me get my bags repacked first, Wes.
Guys, enjoy your trip. We appreciate it. Safe travels until we see each other on the other side of the All-Star break. Always a pleasure.
Great win, guys.
Indeed, the dub for the DC. Now, let's go to head coach Wes Unseld Jr., who's going to talk about that dub.
Well, I thought we finally got our defense into the game. 36-point first quarter is never ideal, and it's credit to the guys. They could have just said, you know what, tonight's not our night. We'll just check out and go on break, worry about it later. But to their credit, they just weathered the storm. We kind of chipped away, got some, some stops, and then fourth quarter, I thought it was obviously a really impactful fourth quarter from our defense, but then have guys step up and make big plays. Brad was tremendous in that fourth quarter. And other guys made big plays as well, but the defense was the catalyst to kind of get us going.
And was DeLon the primary catalyst?
Yeah, it was a big piece, but I thought Gaff as well. Him and KP, especially when we went to our zone, protecting the paint, made plays at the rim, just kind of kept them off balance, which fueled us and allowed us to get out.
How were you guys able to take advantage of their defense? It looked like it started getting a little shaky in the second quarter and then just kind of progressed from there.
Well, I think we were better with our execution. We knew going in they're a high deflection team. They're going to force a lot of turnovers, and that benefits how they play on offense. But I thought we were better with some of the details. Our spacing, set better screens, play with a little bit more force downhill into the paint. So I think that the combination of those things really helped us.
You were talking about the resiliency, just kind of overall throughout the season. Earlier in the season, energy was a problem, kind of the listlessness was a problem. For you guys to head into the All-Star break with a win like this, how much does that signify to you? I know it's one game, you say that, but...
No, I think it can be a catalyst. Time will tell. But, every game, to your point, matters, and it becomes magnified, as the games kind of tick off the calendar. So on this trip, we knew we had a little momentum with, a couple of wins at home. We wanted to get all three, obviously, but it could certainly be a jumping-off point coming back from the break with a little bit of momentum. Guys have hit their stride. For the most part, we're healthy. We're clicking on all cylinders on offense, and, had some really good defensive quarters. We just have to find ways to consistently do that quarter by quarter.
How much of a difference has it made just in your career, even before you were the head coach, you're heading into the All-Star break, the win versus the loss?
Oh, it's huge. Might be one game you can win 6 in a row and lose that last one. It just hangs over you like a cloud for 3 or 4 days. So it's nice to have a win and you go into the break feeling good about where you are, knowing there's a lot of games, and the compression of those games is they're going to come fast. So we want to make sure that we're ready to go when we come out of the break, healthy, and we can make that final push.
What does it say about Kuzma's confidence that he would take that shot that put you ahead after he had a game that was far below his?
I don't think his confidence will ever waver. That's who he is as a player. He's shown his ability to step up, make big shots. It's a heck of a play because it's back-breaking for the Wolves, but kind of propels us take the lead rather at that point in the game. So there were a lot of people who contributed. Obviously Brad has a quarter that he has, but that type of play, on top of the defensive plays, DeLon's deflections, and all those things contribute to winning.
Coach talking right there. Now we're joined by Megan McPeak, still in Minnesota. It's a little chilly, and I'm glad you're hanging out with us, Megan, so thank you there. But I want to ask you a question about Brad in comparison to Anthony Edwards tonight. AE got the show started for Minnesota. He was electric, 34 points over the night. But then Brad closes the show. Obviously, he has the 35, but he had a 50-50-100 night. I think people forget about the fact that is extremely efficient. And what does it say about his leadership of this team at this juncture in the season?
It says a lot, and especially, too, when you think of the fact that, as Chris and Drew were talking about with you and Christy, when he made that pass to Kuz, he could have easily tried to take the ball into the paint, go downhill, maybe he gets a foul, goes back to the free throw line. But he made that pass to make the play. And sometimes that's as much of a bigger play than actually being the one to make the shot. And I thought his leadership tonight was on full display in the way he led the team in that fourth quarter. And also, he said to me in that walk-off, he gave a lot of credit to the second unit in the work that they put in, especially on the defensive end, with regards to making those 2 comebacks within this ball game to even give him, Kuz, KP, and the 5 that finished a chance to close this game out in that fourth quarter. And that also, in my opinion, says a lot about his leadership, because he could have easily just talked about what he did with that 35, the 50, 50, 100 as well, too. Instead, he led by example in saying that it wasn't just him. It wasn't just Kuz. It was DeLon. It was Corey giving them big minutes. And I asked him specifically about DeLon as well, too, what he was able to do defensively, because you heard Chris and Drew talking about it all game. That kid was flying around at every spot on the floor. It wasn't just, you know, on the perimeter waiting for a rebound to push the ball. He made himself impactful for every single minute he stepped foot on that floor.
Megan, you talk about the bench. Here's what I find most intriguing about that statement. Only 4 Wizards actually came off the bench tonight, and they combined for 38 points tonight, winning the battle of the bench. Minnesota had 6 guys go out. What does it say about this Wizards bench, those others that Brad was talking about heading into the break, that they can hang their hat on?
Well, that was something that Coach Unseld was asked about before the game, was the production. It was actually asked by our own Glenn Consor, the production improvement by this bench. And he credited K. Nunn with the fact he's more settled in now than when he first got here with that Houston-Dallas road trip, because he's now has more games under his belt. He talked about Corey and how lethal he's been shooting from the perimeter and beyond the arc, but how much that makes him now a facilitator, because guys on defense have to honor his three-point shot, knowing how lethal he is. He can now put the ball on the floor, and I talked with Joe Ajike, his player development coach, on his confidence, and it's something they've been working on, and he's been working on, and being more confident attacking the paint and finishing at the rim. And then we've seen what DeLon has been able to do in this one as well, too, but this bench, it's production consistently that they have been able to count on, and it's not necessarily always the same 4 guys, but the more you can get them consistently producing and impacting the game, it takes pressure off of the starters. And Corey said that as well too in the chat that I had with him. We had to take pressure off of our guys and our starters, and Brad also said the starters didn't play well. He probably wanted to use more colorful language than he did, but he understood this was a family show.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you for reminding people that it is a family show and we enjoy our jobs. Megan, I'll give you a bit of a break until the other side of the All-Star break. So how about you enjoy some time away as we will when we are out of here. Wizards fans, don't move. We're going to have a little conversation about Kyle Kuzma on the other side. And oh, by the way, the career numbers that he and KP are having, it requires that I bring in Chase Hughes into this show. So you do not want to move. Post-game live back in a moment. Wizards post-game live after a dub. Let's take a look at our best bets, brought to you by FanDuel, where you make every moment more. You're going to love this one. 25 more points from Bradley Beal was at plus 250. $10 would have won you $25. A quarter Beal from Mr. Beal again. Brought to you by FanDuel, we make every moment more. But before you go, we're going to remind you, right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. You can download the FanDuel app and start making every moment more. I told people we were going to talk about Kyle Kuzma. I'm a man of my word. Christy, not only did he give you 16 points and 7 boards, he gave you a dime, he gave you a block, he gave you a steal. Only had 1 foul tonight.
Right.
That's great that he lights up the box score.
Sure.
What I'm most impressed by is the unyielding confidence that he has on the court. It doesn't matter. He's always thinking, like you said before, the next one's going in.
Absolutely. You have to have amnesia. I don't care if he was 1 for 15 and took that shot. I still want him to take that if I'm coaching him. And listen, when he is on a tear like that, he knows the team needs him, much like Bradley Beal. He comes in clutch. Yeah. It doesn't matter what his previous shots were. I mean, he was 6 of 21, but it's not the shots that he missed. It's when he made the shots that he made that impacted this game in a positive manner. And you have to understand that with Kyle Kuzma. Yes, he exudes all the confidence in the world, as he should. He has a championship ring that he won a couple of seasons ago. So he understands that it's not about the last play, it's about the next play. And Kyle Kuzma displayed that wonderfully tonight.
Do you realize after missing those games with that ankle sprain, the last 2 games, you want to know how many threes this man has made?
Talk to me.
10.
Hello. Gear 10. I was talking about being the 10th gear. 10 threes for Kuz. I'll take that. Cash out, Kuz.
Like, it's mind-blowing, the confidence that we have for this guy. I'm loving it. But 10 threes in the past 2 games, 6 against Portland, 4 against Minnesota. I'm super excited to see what happens on the other side. But you know what I'm really excited about? Hearing from Kyle Kuzma right now in the post-game locker room.
just made a big play and stuck with my mechanics and trusted myself and went in. It was big time.
You guys are 4.5 games back, I think, of the 6th seed. What's your confidence level in this group going forward?
We just got to keep building these habits that we're doing right now. I think we're playing great team ball right now. Getting Brad back to form. He really carried us tonight, and probably wouldn't have won without him, because he was our only offensive engine all night. So.
Do-Rag Kuz in the post game, keeping it real. Love Do-Rag Kuz, but he talked about habits, Christy. The best habits, if you could quickly, what do they need to carry over on the other side of the break?
The fight, right? Regardless of what the score is, it's not who you're playing, where you're playing, it's how you're playing. And the grit and the resilience that it takes to win, they know how to do that now in terms of their chemistry. They have everybody healthy for the most part. So you love to see the chemistry continuing to grow. Let's see that on the other side of the All-Star break. Carry over with that strong momentum and confidence from knowing that you can do it.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
The fact that we tell people all the time the season is a marathon and not a sprint, and there are certain times in the season on this roller coaster of a year, people were panicking doing the whole, the little balloon with Carl. No, calm down, stick with us. We got plenty of ball on the other side of the All-Star break. We're coming up on the other side of this actual television break. Chase Hughes in the building, suited up, looking good. We got stats talk from the man himself coming up on PostGame Live. Welcome back to PostGame Live after a dub. Let's go ahead and take a look at our bold predictions brought to you by Greenberg and Betterman. Remember to go to gblawyers.com and feel better. So we said that the Wizards are going to score more points in the paint than the Timberwolves, and the crew was incorrect. However, forgiveness is granted because we got a dub, so I'll let it slide for the night again. Bold predictions brought to you by Greenberg and Betterman. gblawyers.com and feel better. With that in mind, if you haven't noticed, there's somebody new on the set. And he's sitting right over there. His name is Chase Hughes. Oh, no, it's Hughes, baby. It's huge.
New tonight.
Tonight, Chase, I'm glad that you are here for more than one reason. But first of all, I want to get your thoughts on the game tonight and what you saw and, your thoughts on Brad's performance.
Well, obviously, a terrific fourth quarter for Bradley Beal. 17 points in the fourth. That's the most he scored in a fourth quarter since January of 2021. So over 2 years. And obviously, the Wizards really needed it. I thought Corey Kispert and Hen, they're the guys that really kept the Wizards in the game in the first half. And then Bradley Beal really closed it out like the star that he is.
No, so now the other thing that we have to think about, because we talk about the big three in the city, KP and Kuz are having career seasons, if I'm not mistaken, both at the same time, thankfully, in Wizards jerseys. What say you?
Yeah, the stars have really aligned for those two guys. Obviously, both acquired in trades, both age 27, and both having the best years of their career, averaging career highs in points per game. It was so funny, the last game against the Blazers, Kristaps Porzingis set a career high for 20-point games in a season, the same game that Kuzma did it for 30-point games. And in Porzingis' case, I think you could argue it's an even better season than what he had in 2017-18 when he was an all-star for the New York Knicks. And with Kuzma, I think clearly it's an example of a guy that the Wizards got on the up. They got him in a trade with the Lakers, and he was clearly trending upward in his career. I think he probably entered his prime down the back half of last season, and I think he's probably got several years ahead of him of playing at an all-star level. And it reminds me of earlier this season. I talked to a lot of people around the league, and I had a GM who I respect as one of the, I think, best GMs in the league, said at the height of his trade rumors that you can't trade Kyle Kuzma. You got to keep Kyle Kuzma. Obviously, the Wizards saw things very similarly, and you can see why. I mean, tonight he hit a big shot. It wasn't his greatest game shooting from the field, but overall this season, he scored really well. He impacts the game on defense, and I think he's a willing passer for the most part. I think he plays a style that's conducive to winning.
Indeed, especially in that 6'10" frame. But what's the old adage? The best ability is availability, right? So it matters when it comes to KP. He's had a history of it, but also Brad, too. The three of them on the court at the same time, as we've seen, is a formidable opponent. Brad being healthy, obviously, is a major asset.
Yeah, the Wizards are now 13-4 in Bradley Beal's last 17 games.
Wow.
So the numbers that he's putting up is starting to translate into wins. And around the trade deadline, obviously the Wizards did not make a deal on the day of the trade deadline. But Bradley Beal was asked, all right, what's going to be the key to making the playoffs, as you look ahead after the All-Star break? And he said, stating the obvious, they got to stay healthy. And he said it starts with him. So I talked to him one-on-one about his quest to stay healthy. And, obviously injuries have been a problem for him the last few years, but none of them have been the kind of injuries that are long-term concern type injuries. They've been these small little things. Obviously, he had the 2 hamstring injuries this year. He's also been sick a bunch. He's had COVID a few times. He's had non-COVID illnesses. So I talked to him about what he's trying to do to get back to being the durable player he was from 2016 to 2019 when he was one of the most durable players in the league. He played all 82 in consecutive seasons. And he said he's kind of got to get back to the drawing board to figure out how to prevent the injuries. But when it comes to being sick, it was kind of funny. He said one of the things he has to get his kids to wash their hands more.
Good luck
because
with that.
they haven't got every time he's been sick, it's not because he got sick from his kids, but I can relate as the father of a toddler. You know, when they're going to school, they
walking petri
bring
dishes.
something
Petri
new
dishes.
home.
That's what they call walking petri dishes.
They bring it home, honey. They bring it home.
Well, I'll tell you this. One thing we cannot get sick of is winning. And the other thing that when I think about this, I'm thinking about we're going in the All-Star breaks. We're all going to go woo-side. But when we come back, the scheduling gods have done the Wizards a tremendous favor. The lion's share of these games are at home. What numbers can you give me, Chase, about the back half of this season for the Wizards with obvious postseason aspirations?
Well, just look at where the Wizards were 41 games into the year, the halfway point of the season. They had played the second most difficult schedule in the league, and they had played the second fewest home games in the league. So it was a lot of road games early on, a lot of teams with winning records. And if you look at the second half of the season, they had the easiest schedule remaining in the league at that point. And because it's an even schedule, they had the second most home games left. So I think you've seen recently the Wizards sort of play to their schedule. They've won a lot of games at home. They've taken advantage of some of their opponents. But I think one of the most encouraging trends we've seen from this team is they're winning a lot of games on the road.
Yeah.
You go back like 14, 15 games, I think they're 11-4 in their last 15 games on the road. So that's a good sign because most teams that make the playoffs, you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, and you got to protect home, and you got to be able to find a way to win on the road. Those are the types of things that separate the good teams in this league.
And Christy, to this point, think about this, and I'm just thinking about this in real time. Because of the Rui Kendrick trade that happened earlier, this team has an advantage that other teams don't have, that we have over other teams, meaning we don't have to adjust anything. We've already made our adjustments. There are no moves coming after the break where it's like, all right, this new person has to be integrated. We've already gone through that 10, 11 games before the All-Star break.
Right. I mean, the chemistry is established, and you've seen the momentum change for Washington in terms of that chemistry coming along. And games like this, where they have the fortitude on full display, and they come together as a unit and play the way that they did down the stretch to get the win, I mean, that's the separator mentally. I mean, it's a mental challenge. It's attitudinal, for those of you who've heard that before.
That is a word.
But it's attitudinal. You have to be ready to fight for it, regardless of who's on the floor. But the chemistry piece, no, they don't have to make any more adjustments. And speaking to what you were saying about the travel and having all the home games down the stretch, listen, they had 3 10-game road trips in this first half of the season, all out of the way. So yes, it bodes well for Washington right now, chemistry-wise and travel or lack thereof.
Right. Sometimes, what do they say? There's no place like home.
Right here.
Where's the home of your content, Chase, so people know where to find you, sir?
NBCSportsWashington.com.
Oh, look, and by the way, his IG and his socials and all that, check my man out, because like, we love numbers, and what do they say? Women lie, men lie, numbers never lie. Well, Chase Hughes right there, proving point that numbers never lie here on PostGame. Chase, before I let you go out of here real quick, what are you doing for the break?
Actually going to Miami, first trip since we had the kids, so I'm looking forward to it.
It's a couple's trip, just you and your wife.
Yeah, hopefully I don't get sick.
He said he's going to
go
to Miami. Yeah. Don't get sick on the way out. Coming up on the other side, a conversation about Black History Month. The history, where did it come from? Where are we now? But more importantly, where are we going? You don't want to miss this. A great conversation coming up on the other side on Wizards Postgame Live. Welcome back to Wizards Postgame Live. Here we are on February 16th, 2023. And every February, at least in this country, we celebrate Black History Month. But the question is not only what does it mean to us and how do we feel about it, but more importantly, what is it? How did we get here? And more importantly, where are we going?
Black History Month, an education, celebration, and remembrance of important people and events in the history of the African diaspora. In 1926, it was originally acknowledged as Negro History Week for the second week of February. President Gerald Ford advanced the recognition to a month in 1976. But it was President Ronald Reagan who signed Proclamation 5443 on February 24, 1986, officially endorsing the month of February as Black History Month. Reagan said, "The American experience and character can never be fully grasped until the knowledge of Black history assumes its rightful place in our schools and our scholarship. When you think of Black history, what does it mean to have that quote from that man to your ears when you hear it?
When you're celebrating something, especially as Black History Month, and what it means, and I think the introduction of that and the meat and potatoes of that message is really what Black history is about. If you look at where we are right now, we've made some progress, but it's still a lot of more work to be done. It's not about us celebrating, it's us to keep educating our schools and our youth and that next generation. So this is normal to them. This is nothing that is new, and it's celebrated not just in February, it's just celebrated.
At this point in my life, I don't look at February as Black History Month. I'm Black every day. I'm Black 365 days a year, and when I come to work, I take great pride in that. I just think of so many people that kind of came before me to allow me to sit here with you three, that I don't look at it as just 28 days. I can't. My kids are biracial, and the beauty that my wife and I talk about all the time is my kids can understand the struggle and how to help the struggle. Now, that might not make sense to a lot of people, but just think about what I just said. My kids have the ability to understand the struggle and then help people with the struggle. So, to piggyback off of what Drew said, there's a lot of value in what our people bring to the table every day, and it shouldn't be lost on just sandwiching it in for 28 days. And I will say that until the Lord calls me home. It's not Black History Month. It's every day that I wake up, day, month, year, decade.
It's Black history, period. Like, for me, it's different because, like, you all get taught Black history in school. It's not taught the same back in Canada. You learn about it, but not to the extent of which you all might have learned about it. Like, we stick to just February, and they give us the happy version of it. The only way you learn the real version of it is by doing your own research. And that, to me, is scary, not just from, like, my education, but now seeing what you're seeing in schools and how governments and states and cities are taking out books that teach the real Black history.
I was gonna ask you guys your history on when did you first, in your school system, when was it first a thing? And I don't know, I mean, you're a little bit older than me. I mean, was that taught in the school system?
You know, I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I lived in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in the Deep South. So my perspective is a little bit different. I remember being called the N-word playing baseball 9 years old in the Deep South. And I remember punching the kid right in his face and took the consequences afterwards. So I'm of an age where we're just kind of coming out of the civil rights movement, and here we are now. But I just remember, I'm a kid of educators. All my aunts were teachers. One of my aunts, Aunt Bobby, marched with Dr. King. So you couldn't help but get schooled on it, like, early. And if you didn't, you weren't paying attention.
At the end of the day, like, Black history didn't just happen in the U.S. And I feel like that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that they think, oh, because it's celebrated in the U.S. all the time, it only happened in the U.S. And it didn't. Like, it happened all over the world. And, like, for me, the earliest memory I have of anything related to Black history was middle school, and that was maybe 7th grade or 8th grade, when we were talking about Dr. Martin Luther King. And I reenacted his part of his speech. I literally
we all did that. I was gonna say that's part of it. Yeah.
No, I borrowed one of my dad's suit jackets, a tie, a shirt, and made myself look as close to him as possible. And if I recall correctly, to that class, I might have been one of maybe 3 non-white kids in that class.
Yeah.
And yet, none of them had any clue who I was talking about.
That is part one of our Black History Month conversation. The other one will be on the other side of the All-Star break. Christy, your thoughts when you saw that?
I mean, it just took me back to being a 7-year-old second grader walking down the hallway and meeting up, crossing paths with an angry young Caucasian girl who called me an N-word. I didn't know what it was.
Wow.
And my parents knew. And it was just something that I was like, what is that? And why are you so mad? So for me, it hits home just to hear about all of the ugliness in terms of racism and things. But at the same time, to know that we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors in this moment, and to know that our children are standing on our shoulders. So it's up to us to continue to keep the history alive and in front of people, but also to understand that we've come a long way. But there's still so much more that we all can do. So that's just what that piece, powerfully made me think about.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. And it's one of those situations where it's still real. Black history is happening right now in real time. And the thing I love about it is the conversation welcomes everybody to the table. But you know what I want to do on the other side? I want to talk about Bradley Beal some more. I know it's a crazy pivot to do this, but he had such a tremendous game tonight, making history in his own career on the court. And we'll discuss that when PostGame Live returns. Boom.
Let's get into it, because this is for a dub, okay? This is why. Look how much attention Bradley Beal draws defensively. 4 guys on him. Kristaps Porzingis says, let me get downstairs. Let me get this mismatch going. You're going to tag me on the arm because my release point is too high for you. The rainbow jumper goes for Kuz. Now, I'm sorry, for KP. This one, watch the drag screen right here at the top of the key. You're gonna go underneath the screen? Why? Bradley Beal is gonna knock that in. More than he's not 50% from 3 for Bradley Beal tonight. And in transition, Washington had 27 points in transition. You're gonna give Kuz this much space in transition for the 3? He's gonna make you pay. Cash out, Kuz, from the top. And that's what made Washington so tough tonight in transition, but also the ISO reads and the drag screens at the top, perfectly executed.
Sorry, I'm dancing.
I'm not.
Getting
Hey.
Yeah, you had all the energy
Turn
going.
up,
I told you I
Turbo.
was going to
We'll
turn
call
up.
you
Like,
Turbo
you
now.
thought, look, I'm all about to turn up. Here's what I love about this. It has been a roller coaster of a season, but I appreciate resilience, mental toughness, emotional awareness, understanding that it is a marathon.
Yes.
You're not going to win every single night. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but I love that everybody stuck to it. It sounds hokey to say that, but I thoroughly believe this team is in the right place at the right time. On the other side of the All-Star break, we're going to keep this thing going. You understand me? Heading to the promised land. That's called the postseason, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of our great crew and staff here at NBC Sports Washington, for Christy Winter-Scott, I am Wes Hall. 1, 2, 3. Where are you going? Cancun?
Cancun,
One, two,
in my
three.
mind, anyway.
1, 2, 3. Don't call me. That is what I'm saying. You feel me? I'll let y'all on the other side of the All-Star break. Wizards get the dub tonight. Enjoy yourself, DC fans.
Don't call me either.